Meanwhile, David saw the Snake Man. He was very surprised to see actually Snake Man is Team, which Carl sold to the circus troupe. Team wants to tell her what happened to her, but he can't speak. Then they meet their classmate Steve. Christina tells David that he tortured her a lot at university. David tells Steve to stay away from him. As a result, Steve gets angry and starts beating him. Steve was very strong, but then the snake inside David became active and bites like a snake on his body. As a result, Steve was injured. Until then, David had no poison in his body, so Steve's body was only injured. In the meantime, the police came there and stopped their fight. But Steve wants his revenge, and following them reached home and tries to enter Christina's room. But there was a python in front of the window, which was actually Christina's favorite snake. The snake attacks Steve's hand, causing him to fall down in fear. But Steve kills the snake there. Carl and David hear their screams and come there to find that the snake is already dead. Steve was scared and angry, so he insulted them and left. Christina cries after seeing the dead body of the snake. Carl is furious at his daughter's suffering and decides to take revenge on Steve. Then Carl went to Steve's house with the black mamba, the most dangerous snake from the lab. Steve was at home with his girlfriend. When Steve goes to take a shower, Carl enters his house. He sees Steve in the bathroom. That's why he released the snake in the bathroom. The snake immediately bites Steve's leg, causing Steve to die on the spot. Carl, on the other hand, ran away with the snake. He reached home and saw that David's body color had changed. When Christina tries to meet him, Carl refuses and tries to convince her to lie. David has been injected with the last dose of vaccine, so no one will torture him now. To divert Christina from his goal, sends her to another town to buy snakes. She believes him and goes to fetch the snake. After Christina leaves, Carl lets David drink some sort of liquid and says you will get well after that, but after a while he starts having severe pain in his stomach. He feels as if all the parts of the body are drying up. David says please take me to the hospital, but Carl tells him he needs another vaccine. Just then Carl hears a car sound. It's actually Professor Ken. He came to meet Carl. He asks him about David and says I want to meet him. In fact, Professor Ken suspected that Steve's death was caused by Carl's poisonous snake. But Dr. Ken doesn't ask him about it directly. Carl tries to convince her by lying that David is sick and can't meet you right now. Dr. Ken leaves without saying anything to her. But he doesn't believe Carl's words, so he sneaks into his lab. There Dr. Ken was surprised to see David. David tries to get help by seeing his teacher, but due to the development of his body, he can no longer speak. That's when Carl comes in and hits Ken's head from behind. As a result, he lays there unconscious, watching everything at David but unable to do anything. Carl then locks him in the basement. Dr. Ken threatens him that he will tell everyone about his experiment. But Carl knew very well what to do with him now. He releases a python into the basement, and the snake kills Dr. Ken in no time. On the other hand, Christina reaches her location to fetch the snake. But she came to know there was no snake delivered for them. When Christina called Carl about this, Carl lied to her that shipping will take some time, wait there for a while. A few hours pass and a man there sees Christina upset and says, there is a snake circus festival ahead, you can go there. Christina decides to go there, but the festival is closed due to her late arrival. But Christina wanted to see who the half-snake half-man really is. That's why he sneaks into the circus. Christina was surprised when she saw him. This snakeman was actually her father's assistant Team. Christina realizes everything, that as a result of her father's experiment, Team has become a snakeman. And what is happening to David is the result of his father's experiment. Christina, finding out all this, rushes out to go home so as to save David. On the other hand, Steve's wife files an FIR with the police, claiming that her husband was not killed by a snake bite, but murdered. Meanwhile, Dr. Ken's family reports that he has not returned from Carl's house. All of this points to Carl as the cause of the incident. So police officers immediately went out to Carl's house to investigate. Carl, on the other hand, is very busy with his experiments. He puts David on the lab bed and injects him with a vaccine. And he kept telling her about survival and evolution. But David can't speak now, so he just listens to him. Carl says that this experiment of mine will be written in history, and all the people of the world will remember me. In the meantime, the final transformation of David's body begins. First of all, his head becomes like the head of a snake. Then gradually his entire body transforms into a full king cobra snake. Carl brings another king cobra snake to test. Then a fight started between David and the cobra snake. But the king cobra snake bites Carl by mistake. The poison quickly spreads throughout his body, and Carl dies there for lack of antivenom. At that moment, a mongoose comes out of the lab cage and attacks David. Meanwhile, Christina comes there and finds her father dead. The snake also tried to bite him, but the police officers came and saved her. On the other hand, the mongoose in the lab kills David completely. Christina cries seeing this, and the movie ends here.